Okay, we're recording. This is Wrong Speed Record Chat number 39, and we have Matt Baty. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Where are you?
I am in North Shields in our spare room, I suppose. It's one of those rooms where you kind of put everything. My partner, she sells vintage clothing online, so I don't know if there's any in shop, but there's plenty hung up. And yeah,
There's a plant.
the plant, yeah. She might sell that one day. I don't know.
I wonder if people wear it. I don't know what's going on with fashion anymore.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. So I think I could be wrong here. I got a feeling that we first met when you and your people, I'm not too sure who it was, whether it was you or other people in the band, put Colossus on, and we played with Pigs.
Yes.
In around 2015, give or take.
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't me directly responsible for that show. It was Johnny and the Pigs bass player and his sister Kitty. They were putting on gigs in Newcastle around that time, and yeah, it was good. I think. Yeah. Do you have fond memories of that one?
Yeah, well, I do. It was the only time. It is the only time I've ever played in Newcastle.
Really?
Never ever been asked back.
Yeah.
Or we weren't asked up there before either. That was the only time I've ever been asked to play Newcastle.
I'm so sorry.
It obviously didn't go very well.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that I was kind of partly responsible for that. It was the smear campaign we ran after the show that probably did it.
Yeah, well, it's something I bring up every now and then because it appears on my social media pages, but it's the flyer for that gig. But we don't need to talk about it particularly.
Is that the one with the wrong spelling?
Yeah, it's more than wrong.
And that's why you've never been asked back. People are searching for that spelling.
But no, it was good.
I can't believe that's the only time you've played in Newcastle. That's
yeah, it's been absolutely zero interest since, and that's absolutely that's just but it was good, and I think it was the first time we came across you. I think I'd known about the band before, but I have a feeling it was the first time we met.
Yeah, that was probably kind of early-ish days for us, I suppose.
Yeah.
2015.
Yeah. So so since then you've gone kind of stratospheric, would you say?
I don't know. I don't know what we're doing.
Well, the last album got number 67 in the real album charts.
Yeah, we got really excited because they released like the midweek chart to like the labels and whatnot, and the distributors. So we got really excited because it was it was really high. It was, I don't know, it was definitely in the top 40. I think it was in like the 30s or something like that. So we were like, class, we're out selling Bob Marley's greatest hits. This is great. But yeah, everyone around us was like, yeah, but these things, they just sink out really, really quickly. And that's kind of what it did. But to be in where it was, that's amazing.
Oh, of course, it's brilliant. Yeah, I was saying to a few episodes back, I spoke to Stuart from Mogwai.
Oh yeah,
and they did get to number 1. But
yes, yeah.
But I was saying to him, that's what happens. The midweeks come out.
Yeah.
All the little indie bands, sorry, but you know what I mean, get really excited because their pre-orders have been counted and their fans have gone out and bought it on day 1.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then Ed Sheeran's fans just carry on buying those albums.
Yeah, that's it. And streaming it in the droves as well. And that tips it. I know they do the weighting differently, don't they? So a physical sale accounts for, they give it higher weighting to an album stream, but just the sheer numbers of the streaming of the major label stuff, it's just you can't really contend with that. We did get a little nobbled because of the everyone got nobbled a bit because of the pandemic, but in terms of the chart stuff, because it was right at the cusp of the shops having to close, so nobody really knew what was going on. All of our rough trade in stores, they obviously got cancelled. So there was like a big chunk of pre-orders that didn't go out. So the way the chart stuff works is that basically the customer in theory has to have the album in their hand, or it needs dispatching, and that's the only way. So even if someone's pre-ordered it, if the record shop hasn't sent it out, then so there was a big chunk of them that didn't get into people's hands in time. But
yeah, no, well, for me, I'm always really conflicted about it, because like when your album, I remember the week it got released, because everyone I knew was like keeping a close eye on it, going, you know, holy shit, it did well in the indie chart and the vinyl chart and whatever else. But everyone pays attention. Same with the Mogwai one, same with the Arab Strap one. All these bands that like, you've got half an eye on, and you're like watching it like a football fan, like watching, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm conflicted, because the other part of me is like, I don't care. Like about the charts.
It's a weird thing, isn't it? Yeah, I suppose it's like, it's just that sense of like, it's people that you know, or music that you care about. So, and but it's like, it's put into this world that's like completely out of context.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's exciting in that way, I guess, because I thought the Mogwai thing was brilliant. Like that's great.
Yeah.
And I suppose, like, you know, I did say that the streaming thing tips things in the favor of the major record labels, but yeah, Mogwai's certainly going to show that, like, it kind of works, or it can work quite nicely for bands who have got people behind them that are picking up physical records. So
yeah. I guess a physical sale must be worth X amount more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. That's basically it. Like, I don't know if it's a points thing, but you know, per album sale might be worth 4 points, whereas a streamed album would be worth, or a digitally bought album is worth like 1 or 2 points or something. I don't know, but
anyhow, who cares about the charts?
I'm not bothered, because we didn't get top 40.
And then the last album I did of ours, I don't put barcodes on any of our releases. And it's I sort of say, well, everything I release would be in the charts, but I just haven't bothered putting a barcode on it.
Yeah. Oh, but barcodes are fat.
So they're none of the releases that I've put out, because I just think they look terrible on a record sleeve.
They're not great.
No, they sort of scream desperation to me. I'm not into it. I'll let the distributor can put their little stickers on, so you know, to keep them happy, but that's their job. I don't care. Yeah. So you're in that band, Pigs. You also run a record label. Tell me about Box. And before you start, here is one release that I found quickly this afternoon, on Box Records. Look at that blurry logo.
It's got a bloody barcode on it.
There we are. Desperation, but the Lower Slaughter album.
The thing is, with that barcode, given the design of the cover, you could just like Sharpie over the.
No, it's part.
Like mindfully Sharpie over it.
It's part of the design. I love it. And you've got.
I'm wearing a Lower Slaughter t-shirt.
I see that. Yeah, I was. But this record's a total ripper.
Yeah, it's amazing. The first time I saw them was at Super Normal. But they had a different vocalist, I think, if my memory serves me right. I've never met him. I think he was called Max. I just thought it was one of the most brilliant things I'd ever seen. It was just, incredible. So I think I maybe got in touch with the Lower Slaughter fairly soon after that. But yeah, they were in a bit of a state of flux, and Sinead was joining the band. But yeah, that's how that one came around.
Yeah, and then they did the second record, right?
Yeah.
So, but tell me about the label. Well, when did you start? Why?
See, everything gets hazy in my memory. I'm useless with years, so I always say that like any memory is 10 years ago. But I think it was probably longer ago, maybe about 13 years ago, started the label. Yeah, that would make sense because we did some 10-year anniversary shows 2 years ago. It's coming up to 13 years anyway.
You do normally do a 10-year anniversary show around the 10-year mark.
Tradition. Yeah, as is tradition. Yeah, so I was living in Manchester at the time. It was something that I thought about doing for a while. I was fortunate enough to have some savings put aside. However, I was also unemployed and the savings were going down and down and down, just on stuff like rent or just getting caught short financially, as you do when you're in those predicaments. So I kind of just looked at the funds one day and I was like, look, I can either just let this bit of money here dwindle away, or I can just bite the bullet, do something positive with it, work everything out as and when. So yeah, the first release, I've actually got it down here, and I did absolutely everything wrong. I learned completely on the fly, because at that point nobody had ever put out a record of any of the bands that I was in or anything like that, so I didn't really fully understand how it all worked. I was just like, well, so this was the first release. It was a 7-inch. It's a split. I mean, this goes to show, my how green I was, because it's Nod and it's Bong and it's on a 7-inch.
Like, how long are their songs?
Yeah, exactly. If there's two bands that are probably not suited for this format, it's those two. So but I remember at the time, Paddy from Nod, it was his suggestion to do the 7-inch, and I was kind of just like, yeah. So yeah, we went in with that. Bong were a band I knew. I lived in Newcastle before I moved to Manchester, and they were one of my favorite bands from Newcastle. And then when I moved to Manchester, I'd met Paddy just by pure chance. I worked in a health food shop, and they had a basement cafe, and he worked in the basement cafe. And I just got talking to him one day. He's like, "Oh, I'm in a band. If you're a musician, come along to one of our practices. We invite people along all the time, and we just have a jam." So I went along and played with him a bit, did a few gigs with him, recorded some bits and pieces. I went down to Dropout Studios with them and did the album that they did with Whitehill.
Whitehill's at Dropout. It's called Dropout.
Yeah. So we spent like a few days there.
Then I might have met you then, because that's where we were. That's where we rehearsed then. I wouldn't have been there at the recording, but we were always there because we rehearsed there and spent a lot of time there.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. It was a great few days. I just remember, I don't think I saw like sunlight for like 3 days, because like, it's like in the basement, isn't it? The live room.
Yeah, that was our home for 10 years, that place.
Yeah, it was great. An amazing experience. So yeah, so that's how that came about. I think the 7-inch, this definitely came out before then, though.
Right.
We did like a little CDR with it, with actual proper song lengths, like the Bong ones, 34 minutes long.
A radio edit on the 7-inch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not even sure if it's like, it's been a while since I listened to it. I don't even think it's pressed at the right speed. It's great. I'm proud of it.
12 RPM to get it all on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a good one.
Did you play, what instrument were you playing with Nod?
I was doing like extra kind of percussion, really. I had like a really minimal drum setup, a couple of toms, little bits of synth here and there, and general vibes.
Don't use that word.
No, I'm so sorry. I take that back. Just general. general maintenance.
So on that note, this is a record I got, and it's new, and it is by Nod.
Yes. Now that's one I picked out anyway because of there was one category, memories.
Okay, well we can come back to it, but I just wanted to bring this up because I just wanted to talk about Rocket, which is the label that Pigs release their records with, and this is, I think, maybe the most recent Rocket release. I say this in May 2021.
Yeah.
How do you find Rocket? How do you find dealing with Chris and Johnny there?
They're hard work, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Awful. No, they're great. We were delighted that they took interest in our music in the first place. It was one of those situations whereby we kind of formed Pigs, and then I think we possibly even just emailed Rocket before we'd recorded anything or gigged, or that sort of like
ever the optimist.
naivety, I suppose. Just like, hi, we're a band from Newcastle called Pigs. Hey, George, will you put out an album? Sorry, we're quite busy. I mean, they always got back to us, but sorry, we're quite busy. So when Feed the Rats came around, we were delighted that they were interested in it, and because we'd always had them, like, they were our perfect label. That's where we wanted to release our music, so we ground them down after a while.
Well, they totally have embraced the explosion of the band.
Like
they from 0 to 100 or whatever, they've seem to have been with you the whole way, with like, okay, we'll press enough for this, we'll back you on that, we'll back you on this. As an outsider, you might look at it and think, okay, they're going to now move to a different label, maybe. Like, there's a certain size you get where you think, okay, we need to be with a different label, but it seems that it backed you and you backed them, and I think that's awesome.
I mean, it's absolutely no criticisms of them whatsoever. I mean, maybe that's a chat for afterwards.
We'll talk for a few hours after about that. No, not really.
But they're just ultra enthusiastic, and they just get it, and just get it. It's good.
So there we are, Rocket. That's what I was going to show you. But you can talk more about Nod in a bit then. That's cool. Okay. So other instruments then that you play. Here's a band that I think you play with occasionally. You also played with Blown Out.
Yeah.
One. That was a 3-piece with
Mike Vett and Johnny, who plays bass in Pigs as well.
Yeah. So there's that, which Riot Season released, but there's Richard Dawson as well. I really want to know about playing as this. This is the album I've got by him, by the way.
Yeah, Nothing Important. Yeah. So another record that I picked out just as a kind of, it was a Box Records one. There's a Richard Dawson album.
I've got that on CD. Yeah.
So that, if you've got it on CD, have you got the Domino version or the Pink Triangle version, which was Richard's kind of, that's what he called his own imprint, I suppose.
I think it was the first. I've had it for a long time.
Yeah, all right. It'll be the Pink Triangle one. This put out in 2012 on Box Records. So Richard released it, but just on CD.
Right.
And I thought that was a bit of a crime. Now, I must say, I think there was like such a long gap after putting out the Nod and Bong 7-inch. I think I was probably traumatized. That was a really stressful thing. And then obviously forgot about how stressful releasing records can be. And I went to Richard's album launch, and I remember him saying during the set, it's like, it's only available on CD. I did have someone who was going to press it up on vinyl, but then they heard it and said it sounded like it had been recorded in a bin, so they didn't want to do it anymore. So I thought I was crazy, and got in touch with Richard. I didn't know him all that well back then. I'd go to a lot of his shows in Newcastle. The first time I saw him was playing in a Spanish restaurant it was like right next to St. James's Park.
Yeah.
It's still there, and the guy's son, who owned the restaurant, basically just like let him put on like an open mic night on, I don't know, I think it was like once monthly, like on the first Sunday of every month or something like that. But it was more like, it was quite like left field things. So just like improvised drone stuff and noise. And so me and Sam used to play it a lot, Sam from Pigs. And yeah, saw Richard play there, and he played it was a really long song. It was about like 10 minutes long, a song about each one of his cats that he's had throughout his life, but you know, their final hours and their passing. And it just like, it had me in tears, you know. And I was like, who is this guy? Like, it was just, it's so powerful. Yeah.
He's like a proper storyteller. He's like,
yeah,
like someone from like the 19th century or something, like telling stories around a fire. Like on this album, you've got like the viol stuff.
Yes.
Which, like it got played on the radio, and like people like Mark Riley played the whole thing, and it's 10 minutes. And then he does sort of that most recent album with that jogging song. Like you know, and that's kind of a rock song, but it fits so well with what he does and the storytelling in it.
He's unbelievable. He's like, he's just, he's remarkable.
So how is it playing with him then? Because
good. It was a learning curve though. It was a learning curve, I think, for me and also for him as well, because it was the first time he played in a band, or at least like played with other musicians live. So obviously he was very used to, you know, it's just him and his guitar. He can dictate a tempo, and the way he writes songs anyway, there's so many like little nuanced bits and like little swerves here and there, and like things meander left and right. Nothing's ever really too straight. So from like a drumming perspective, that was kind of hard to get my head around. It took a while, but I blagged my way through it, I suppose. It was good. And we did some great shows. And I was, in the lead up to his latest album, 2020, we tentatively learned, because he did everything in the studio himself.
drums as well.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'm revealing any secrets I shouldn't have, but fine. He recorded like lots of the drum kit separately. So snare drum, hi-hat, like just everything. So because he's not a drummer. So he did, which actually made the album that I learned fully, the Peasant album, it made it quite challenging, because when I was presented the album to listen to, I was listening to it at home, I was like, there are so many things going on here, like rhythmically.
You had 8 arms.
What exactly am I supposed to focus on? Like what parts of these do you want? So yeah, it was kind of fun. Like,
on that note, like when you record Pigs records, you're the singer, so you're kind of out of the loop with it. But with our band, sometimes the guitars can do an extra couple of bits in the studio, and then when it comes to sort of kind of relearning the song to play live, they realize there's like 5 guitar parts and there's only 3 of them.
Okay.
I don't know. Like that's something that sometimes we struggle with.
Yeah, I think we're fairly conscious of that when we're in the studio. That's like how we might replicate it live. So I don't think we've done anything too drastic in that sense. Like we've added embellishment things here and there, but they're generally buried in, you know, like saxophone or whatever, just buried in and bubbling away. But one day though.
Do you have so what year are we in? 2021. Like who knows? But so last year and then up to this year, you had a lot lined up.
Yeah.
As a band.
Yeah.
What's the story with all that stuff now? Like looking forward.
We need to learn the songs
Yep.
from the album, because we only managed to play, or had the opportunity to play, like 2 of them live. One we played for ages live anyway, which we're all kind of sick of now, so we're probably not going to relearn that one. I can just say where it is. And another one we only played, I think, twice.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the album is like, it's just, yeah, it's going to be interesting, learning it all again. Beyond that, I mean, we've got a few festivals that are left standing, that will hopefully go ahead this summer. So that'll be great if they do. Then beyond that, we have a tour, the album launch tour in November and December. And that's like an amalgamation of maybe like 2 or 3 different tours we were supposed to do last year, that then just got like rescheduled. And I think our booking agent was just like, you know what, let's just put them all together and just do it. And I was kind of a bit relieved when he said, because I think he suggested November and December for the tour maybe last September. And I kind of felt relieved, although like reading it in black and white was like, that is so far away, like what on earth? But there was another part of me that just kind of felt a bit of stress lift, because I was like, at least this gives us now surely a fighting chance of that going ahead. And so, and if it doesn't go ahead, then wow.
Well, we've got like 9 or 10 shows booked towards the end of the year, and I'm only 50-50 on, because like with a band like you and I like bands from like the world that we come from, you want a room with people who are close.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's part of the deal. Like it's a 50-50 people there. Like everyone in the room is part of the evening. So like the thought that you're going to go and you're going to play a room that, I don't know, for you, like a room that holds 500 people or 1,000 people.
Yeah.
But you can only have a 10%. Like
yeah.
I don't want it, right?
No, we've not really been too interested in doing any kind of socially distanced shows or anything like that. Not, it's great that people are doing them and enjoying them, but I don't think it's quite for us. I think
no, it's part of the deal. It's part of watching a band.
Yeah.
Where it's just like everyone's in it together, and it's like an hour's moment where it's
just a hot mess.
Yeah, like it's exciting. It's not, So let's just quickly talk about you as a front person.
Okay.
Before we get on to talking about records, let's talk about you as a front person.
Okay.
Shorts all the time. What are you thinking?
It just gets really hot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's all it is. They're merely practical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. When we first started, actually, maybe even when we played with you in Newcastle, I may have been wearing a really big like kaftan, like a multicolored kaftan.
That's possible. Yeah.
So like the first bunch of shows, maybe for like the first year of our existence, so I was wearing this like really big kaftan, because I'd not done vocals in a band before. Always drums, and I was comfortable there. I knew what I was doing.
Hidden.
And then all of a sudden, I was just like, you're in front of, like, properly in front of people, and that was pretty scary. And it took some time getting used to. And I think actually, the kaftan was part of just. It was almost like a comfort blanket, I suppose. Like, you really covered up, and
yeah. I think that about bands that wear masks. I wonder if they're like happier behind the mask.
Yeah.
Being someone else.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, there was part of that. I think I just felt more comfortable, less anxious, covering myself up a lot. Then I had a really embarrassing moment in Glasgow. whereby the mic lead got like tangled up in the hood, and I couldn't untangle it from behind my head, so my arms were like suspended here, and the microphone was like there, and I felt so stupid. I don't know if anyone actually, I maybe just styled it out. I don't know. No, I definitely look stupid. So then, yeah, I was kind of like, I just never again. That can't happen again. So I ditched the kaftan, and then yeah, after that, it's just really hot on stage. It's really really hot. But I quite like in terms of, I like the progression of going from like loads of layers of clothing to like hide myself up to now being kind of comfortable just wearing just a pair of shorts on stage. There's something quite nice about that, I think. If you can take pride in that sort of thing. It seems like when I said it out loud there, I was like, this sounds so stupid, but
I thought there's like the Oxbow singer does it, where he starts a gig playing
yeah,
almost entirely undressed.
yeah,
And so there's that. There's a theatre to that, but there is a sort of, a frontman needs to be sort of, not needs to be. This is incorrect, but there's something quite nice when the frontman is iconic, right?
Yeah,
because you're the frontman. Like no matter what you say, like even like someone like Mark Lanigan, like when he was with the Screaming Trees, he just stood still. But he became iconic doing it, and you can think of all the front people who are like that.
Yeah.
The one I had two here, and one I think is a short wearer.
Yeah.
And one is iconic. And so the short wearer is Rollins.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you get a bit of that. And the other is Nick Cave, of course, who's like who frontman or front person wise, who do you go for? Who's your
David Yao?
Right.
David Yao is amazing, and well, you mentioned him, like Eugene Robinson from Oxbow.
Yeah.
I remember buying a compilation CD. I forget what it's called now. From a record shop in Newcastle years and years ago. It was just something that was recommended to me, and I kind of bought it and just thought it was incredible. But it came with a DVD of like some like live stuff, some just like just general tour footage and things like that, and just like the intensity of him is it's frightening. I quite like sometimes being frightened by frontmen.
Yeah. Like Yao does that.
Yeah, totally. But by the same token, that's nothing. I don't aspire to that at all.
No, well, this is I've read in.
I'm physically quite unimposing anyway.
I've read interviews with you and the band, and having seen you and the band, I kind of agree with it. Is you have despite the music you're playing, you kind of strip back the macho element to it a little bit. It's not like I don't know, like say for instance, when I see Pigs play, I don't think Matt Pike or High on Fire, and it's not. I don't think like man on top of a cliff rocking to gods. I think somehow it's more in amongst it, like more.
I think there's something a little bit more, I suppose, like camp or flamboyant or something like that to it. I mean, I think just doing it any other way, if we were trying to, emanate a Matt Pike or something like that, it would just, I don't know, like you've just got to be comfortable in your own skin, I suppose, and not really try to aspire too much to be anyone else. And I think actually, to your point about like frontmen, I suppose that like part of it is that it is a character on stage, and I use character not in the sense that it isn't genuine, but it's a persona on stage who is comfortable in whatever they're doing. So if it is like a Mark Lanigan who is just stirred, there's a certain ease and and confidence behind that.
Mm.
Whereas you can see, I mean, as people, I suppose we're constantly reading body language all the time, aren't we? So I suppose it makes sense that, like, you know, if you see someone on stage, a frontman, another frontman stood still, and maybe they want to be a bit like Mark Lanigan or not, but if they're not comfortable doing that, then you kind of detect that. Like, there's just little subtleties, isn't there, that you kind of go, oh, that person's not comfortable. And then as a kind of audience member, that kind of puts you a bit, you know, an unease as well, doesn't it? So
maybe that's for you. Maybe the taking off of the caftan, you know, was like, okay, that's not really me. I'm not walking around. I'm not walking around North Shields in a caftan. It's just I might walk around North Shields in Newcastle United shorts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I do quite often.
Why wouldn't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, like maybe that's part of, maybe then you've revealed your real you, so you become more comfortable, so the people watching it believe in your shtick, for want of a way better word. Like, this seems genuine now. Like,
Yeah.
Let's talk about records.
Okay.
So I send you a list, as I do with everyone. We're going to go top to bottom. Hit me with a record from your favorite record shop.
Right. So I mentioned them a little earlier. So it's Beat Down Records in Newcastle, and they are, I think they're my favorite by default, because where I grew up, there wasn't a record shop. Like, the closest thing we had to a record shop was Woolworths, and me and my mate used to go down to Woolworths, look at the chart albums or whatever, and just buy whatever. It was just whatever. And, you know, so there's some kind of embarrassing things in there, you know, Ministry of Sound compilations or whatever. So when I started, well, when I was kind of old enough to take myself off on a bus to Darlington and get a train up to Newcastle, Beat Down Records was like the first place I kind of I would go. So I picked this record, which I bought from there a very long time ago. It's Will Haven, Carpe Diem. Do you know them at all?
I know they're a rockin' band.
So yeah, so this album came out when 2001, so I'll have been 16. So that fits in timeline wise. And they kind of, I suppose, they got lumped in with, like, I mean, I was listening to really dumb music, you know, just low. I was the perfect age to be hit with the new metal explosion, which, well, you know how that went.
Well,
yeah. Well, it went really well for some, depending on what you consider success to be. But Will Haven kind of got lumped in with all of that. But they're not a new metal band at all. Like, I mean, I put it on in the car this morning as I was driving to work, so I picked it out last night, and it's ferocious. And it's like they're one of the first bands that I'd heard where it just felt really like there was no bullshit, there were no gimmicks, there were no, like, I don't know, like the music was just really, really straight up. Like, the drummer was just like so no nonsense. It was just like he barely did a fill. Like, he's a great drummer, like really energetic, really explosive, but like it's really quite basic and just straight ahead, like just smashing. And I get, you know, I was learning drums at the time, and I was like, oh wow, like you can do it like this. Like, you know, you don't need to be like really, really technically proficient. You just need to slam it with, like, you know, with as much enthusiasm as you've got. Like, that's the way to drum. And they've got some like gnarly riffs as well. They're just, they're great.
I don't know them.
Yeah.
I know the band name. I've always had them somewhere between Clutch and Dillinger Escape Plan. For some reason, I've just always, so rather than new metal, I've always put them in that like bracket for some reason.
Right. Yeah.
Having never
Yeah.
heard them, should I
They
say?
were, yeah. They're not. Yeah. I mean, Dillinger Escape Plan were kind of all over the shop, weren't they?
Yeah.
Like
Well,
early
yes.
on,
So I'm wrong. That's what I mean. I've never heard them, but they just were lumped for some in my
yeah,
mind. That world.
yeah. And I came across them. It was when they had one. Well, they probably had more than one music video, but
Yeah.
I was ever exposed to one, and it was the title track of that album, Carpe Diem, and it was the kind of video that like they would play on Kerrang, but like only ever after midnight. It wasn't graphic or anything, but they were too busy playing like Limp Bizkit and I don't know, Papa Roach earlier on in the day, like, every hour. But after midnight, they kind of opened it up a little bit. Like I remember, oh no, wait, there was another music channel called Scuzz.
Oh yeah, no, I know that. Yeah, I remember.
Remember Scuzz? Yeah, and they used to open things up a bit like.
It had that really like grainy logo.
Yeah, it did, yeah. Yeah. I remember seeing a Murder One video on there, which was band Paul Catton was in, and I think maybe some members of Iron Monkey were in that band.
All right, okay.
But yeah, that was Scuzz. But yeah, Will Haven, I saw. Yeah, I think MTV2 would play them occasionally, but like really late on in the night, and it was just
so,
like.
Beat Down Records is still there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still there. It's. I mean, it's a pretty no frills record shop.
For some reason, I've ordered records from them actually.
Like, right, okay.
Yeah, weirdly, and I've always thought because of the name and because of what I've bought from them, I've always assumed they were a punk rock record shop.
Yeah, they do have a lot of that stuff in. They've got a lot of secondhand records in. A lot of people will go in and like trade or take credit or whatever. They do like new releases and reissues and whatnot. But like I say, yeah, it's pretty no frills. Like it's a straight up record shop. But yeah, especially when I moved up to Newcastle though, like when I was 18 or 19, I'd go in there quite often because I got a student loan, and you just you spend your student loan as quickly as possible.
So where you're not from Newcastle then?
No, I'm from a little town called Richmond, which is like the cusp of North Yorkshire before it comes County Durham. So yeah, and I'm from there.
Right. And so I see sometimes I see the pigs photos, and you're all wearing a Newcastle top.
Yeah, I hate that photo.
Is it genuine that all of you support Newcastle?
No, it's a lie. Chris, our drummer, who is in that photo, he does not. He's from, well, he's not quite from Manchester, but he's from the Northwest. He supports Manchester United.
And he wore a Newcastle top for the photo.
Yeah, he didn't even take that much persuading, to be honest. But
he just wanted to be in the band, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Well, it was early days.
Yeah,
yeah. Ewan left the band and Chris joined, and yeah, it was early days. So I think if we were trying to persuade him to do that now, he'd maybe be. Although he watches Newcastle games with us, he was very invested this season. Yeah, so he's rooting for us in the best way he can.
I've always been just as a football sidetrack. I've always been really jealous of the one team town. So I support a team that's from a city where there's loads of teams.
You Brentford?
Yeah. So, so we're within about 2 miles of us, we've got 3 teams like Fulham, Chelsea, are like a stone's throw from us, and then there's the whole of London. But whenever I look out and I see like Newcastle, Leeds, even like Reading, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Hartlepool, whatever, I'm always like weirdly jealous of these towns or cities that just have one team, and it's like the big church in the center of town that everyone goes to.
Yeah, it's great. I used to live kind of close. Well, no, it wasn't even that. It was just like one of the suburbs of Newcastle, but you could hear St James's Park when they scored. It was cool.
Yeah, I've always been jazzed. Oh yeah, so just quickly going back to Ewan, who was the first drummer, we knew him before.
Yes.
That's the one person we knew from Pigs before. Like, so 2015 we played with you, but we knew him from playing with his previous band, like almost 10 years before that.
Was that Snowblood?
Yeah.
So I again from Beatdown Records, and probably around, no, it'll have been a couple of years. So I bought that Will Haven album probably when I was about 16. But when I moved up to Newcastle, like I said, I'd go into Beatdown quite regularly, and they recommend bits and pieces. And I picked up a Snowblood album in there. There's just the description on it. They put a little sticker on it and like write about it. And I thought, oh, that sounds up my street. So I just bought that without knowing anything about the band. And then when I met Ewan and he joined the band, I don't even know. I didn't put two and two together. It just never came up. It never came up. Until it did, until we had that conversation. Well, I've got one of your albums, and I'd bought it years and years and years before I'd met him. It's the one, I forget what it's called. It's got like a circle.
Yeah.
On the,
it's on. I think there are a couple of them there, but there's Kunal at Superfly put them out. Like, we played with Snowblood a whole bunch of times, and they destroyed us every single time. I don't know if you ever saw them play live, but they were monstrous. Like, really, really excellent. And memory serves, the singer didn't wear any shoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had a bit of that about him, but that they didn't sound like the Verve. God damn, they didn't know. They were brilliant. But so yeah, it was really surprising when I saw him in Pigs at the time. I was like, holy shit, there he is. There's your man.
Yeah.
So
lovely person.
Yeah. So record with memories.
Yes. So I've got two. I got this Trencher album.
Oh yeah.
The title is When Dracula Thinks Look at Me.
Oh.
So
I got a fact about that.
Sorry?
Yeah, we put the CD out of that.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, well there you go. I picked this one out. So you didn't have anything to do with this record?
No, is that Wakusai did the vinyl, right? And
Wakasai record?
Yeah.
Oh, Wakusai. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Simon and Heather. Yeah.
You're right, okay. So I picked this one out because it always makes me think of a weekend trip me and a few mates did. We drove down to the Broodnow Social Club. We must have been this is really early 20s as well. So it must have been 20, 21 maybe. We'd gone down to the Broodnow Social Club. My mate had just passed a driving test, and he had a...
Sorry, just quick, what year are you saying now? Only because you said 2021, and that's now, so it wouldn't have been.
Did I?
In a lot of ways, yeah.
No, I was 21. I was 21. So that would have been about 14 years ago, 15 years ago. But yeah.
Weird. Okay.
We just popped out on the Broodnow last week. Went to an all day.
Awesome.
What are you talking about? Pandemic? What? No, so we drove down 14 years ago. I can't quite remember what was going on at the Broodnow. There was an all-dayer. I think that band Army of Flying Robots played. I can't remember who else. But the next day we'd planned to go to Nottingham because there was an all-dayer in Nottingham, and that's the one we were properly excited about. Because Narcosis, do you remember them?
Oh yeah, that record.
Really,
Kunal put that out as well. That's the same.
Really,
so Kunal put that Trencher album out as well with us. He did the stuff, and he did the Narcosis album.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, they were just incredible bands. So Narcosis at that all dayer in Nottingham, Narcosis were headlining. But it was the vocalist's last gig with them. He left the band. I forget his name. It was Pete something or other. I didn't really know them personally at all. So yeah, we'd gone to see that, and Trencher played, and I remember the drummer. They played. I can't remember the name of the venue in Nottingham. It was like a pub, but it had like a venue up, kind of smallish venue.
Old Angel.
Yes, that was it. That was it. And then downstairs, they were using the pool room as like another room. But yeah, Trencher had the drum kit on top of the pool table, and like the room was probably about as big as the one I'm in, and it was just like people falling all over the place. It was brilliant. So that one always reminds me of that weekend. It was good.
Is it pink vinyl? Just on a nerd level.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and is there a painting on the other side of it, or is it just like one-sided?
No, it is one-sided.
Yeah. The one I've got's got like it's one-sided, but on the other side is like a painting.
Yeah, to be honest, it's been a while since I've listened to it, and I tried to. I don't know. I was fooling myself. I was at work earlier on, and I tried to find it on Spotify, and I was like, "No dice, that's not happening." But yeah,
like Mark Dicker from that band does solo stuff with and also does things with John Doran and other people, I believe.
Right, okay. I know. I don't think I've ever seen Mark Dicker live. I'm aware of him, and I actually didn't realise he was ever in Trencher.
He was in Pale Horse for a bit.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, they were an amazing band.
Yeah, and Liam, drummer, is he's a pretty popular tattooist now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the drummer from the guy from Pale Horse.
No, the drummer.
Oh, drummer from Trencher.
Yeah, Liam. Yeah, he's I think it's Old Habits is the name of his tattoo place. If anyone's interested in getting a tattoo, he's the man to go to. He's good. But yeah, I love Trencher. So yeah.
Yeah.
We saw them whole piles of times. We played with them loads, and like playing Rough Trade, and when Rough Trade was tiny in that little place in West London, and they were always really exciting and fun. In fact, our first ever gig was with Trencher.
Really amazing.
Yeah, that was 2003. But yeah, I love that band. I love those people. So
yeah,
very good picks, sir. Bargain find.
I struggled with this one a bit because I'm not one for like looking up the value of records or anything like that, and I'm not particularly precious in terms of like, I don't really mind what pressing it is or what version it is, like as long as it plays, and then
I'm exactly the same. This here that's a reissue. I'm not buying first presses of records.
Yeah. So I kind of struggled with this one, and I picked this one out. This isn't a bargain find at all, but I do the rounds of the charity shops, especially in North Shields. They're quite good, and I always have if I can be bothered. If I'm feeling lucky, I'll flick through the vinyl, because obviously you get a lot of I don't know, Kenny Rogers and whatnot, and just bad smelling orchestral things. I picked this one out, and I just bought it for like, I don't know, probably 50p or something, but just on the strength of the title and the Mexican pizza.
I would have bought it.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's a fairly standard mariachi affair, but I mean, I make myself sound like I'm an expert on mariachi, but I'm not. That might be amazing to a connoisseur. I don't know, really.
And mariachi.
Yeah. But I know pick this one up for like a couple of quid. That felt like a bargain at the time. Kraftwerk, Autobahn.
Oh, yeah,
Plastic. But this one I kind of picked as my main one. I mean, it's not strictly a find as such, but there were a band from Newcastle called Mazaran. Again, it was around that time when I first moved up to Newcastle, and I was like 19, 20 years old, and they were a band that saw play a bunch of times, and they kind of, in a way, it was another kind of point where I'd like just heard something that I'd not heard before, and it kind of opened up some more doors in terms of like music discovery and things like that. So this is Mazaran Solid Wood. But yeah, I class it as a bargain because when they split up, they basically they were selling off the merch really cheap. So they were doing these like bundles of like, I think it was like paid like 20 quid and I got one of everything that they'd released. So I got like a couple of CDs, this couple of 7-inch and a t-shirt, 20 quid. Like, great. But they were an amazing band. So good.
Yeah. What are they called again?
Mazaran. Cruel Nature, Reg, you know Cruel Nature Records?
Yeah, I know the name, yeah.
Guy up here called Steve Strode, he runs them. He does a lot of cassette releases. Last year he put out a Mazaran something or other, like they were old recordings that had not seen the light of day, but he put out a cassette. It's really good. So yeah, I've been listening to that a bit over the past year.
I have a thing with bargains though. It's not so much about like picking something up cheap, or it's more about what value you've got from something.
Yeah.
You can buy a record for 20 quid, like a standard price record, 15, 20 quid. But if you play it 100 times, it's a bargain.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's something I've mentioned before and no one's had a go at me, so I'm going to say it again. But I'll buy a book and only read it once.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
So, but I'll buy a record.
I'll buy a book and never read it.
Then I don't tell anyone, but exactly the same. I'll get a few pages in and I'll be like, okay, yeah, shelf classic.
Yeah.
On there next to my Kurt Vonnegut books or whatever else I don't read.
Yeah. I'll make up the rest. It's fine.
Exactly, just something to sit in front of when BBC want to talk about.
Yeah.
News thing. But yeah, no, totally. So I'm not like too stressed about. Actually, as an aside, I've just found this on the floor, so I'm going to show it to you.
Okay, yeah.
And it's because I spoke to Lisa from Supersonic Festival.
Oh yeah, I listened into a bit of that this morning.
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago I spoke to her, and I dug up some old flyers, and it's is this flyer here? Look at that.
Oh yes, we did some t-shirts. Well, I mean, we paid for the privilege. We didn't just rip the design and say, oh yeah, merch. But yeah, we did some t-shirts of that design because it's amazing. It's so good.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? And then I like it because they did the double-sided flyer thing.
Yes. Yeah,
which I'm always a fan of. But yeah, have you played for Supersonic or Capsule many times? Yeah,
we played oh goodness me, was it even the last Supersonic that happened? And it was what kind of anniversary would it have been for Supersonic? 15 years, maybe?
Right, possible. Yeah, I think they started at 2006, 7-ish.
Yeah. So yeah, we played that, which felt really special because, I mean, when they started the festival, or at least like when I became aware of the festival anyway, and I was getting into, that area of music, that was a festival that I always wanted to go to. And then whenever I was in a band, I was like, oh, I really want to play Supersonic. And then, found ourselves in a position to be like headlining a stage and their anniversary show, which was, it felt really special. Really,
I think we played Friday.
Yeah.
2017, right?
Yeah.
We did Friday. It was brilliant. I love it. And I love the people, and I love the
amazing.
It's a total like ambition to play type thing.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Do you have so tell me about without sounding too don't know. Sometimes, like, here's the thing, like certain people and music people, like from like our sort of thing, we get like afraid of saying what our ambitions are for the band, or ambitions about what you want to do and whatnot. Do you have any that you're willing to admit
to? I suppose, like, as you kind of fumble your way forwards, you kind of do at each stage you kind of you get like a sense of like, oh well, maybe that next step is kind of achievable now. Like whereas if you start at, you know, if you just start a band and you're looking so far ahead to there, then I think it 9 times out of 10 ends in disaster. And I've been in bands like that before where you kind of, your expectations or your goals are just like totally unrealistic, and then you start comparing yourselves to what other bands are doing, and it just becomes like you just get frustrated and you're just asking lots of questions as to why these things aren't happening for you, and that's not the point at all, is it? So yeah, I suppose there are little ambitions as you go along, but like when we started the band, it was just to kind of, I don't know, like even like the first headline gig we did at the Brixton Windmill, like that was like, wow, like someone wants us to headline a gig in London, like that's absurd. And then, you know, there was the like super normals and supersonics, you know, you ambitions to play those. I suppose at the moment, I mean, I suppose at the moment the ambition is to do a tour. It's gone back around. I just want to play some shows. But yeah, I suppose, yeah, the ambitions, I don't know. Like we were supposed to do we had like 3 US tours booked for last year that obviously didn't happen. So that feels like a goal that's still there that we can shoot for. Hopefully.
You had 3 tours booked. Is that because you have to get a year's visa and you need to get the most out of it?
Yeah. So we had everything. We paid for the visas. We had the flights booked. Like because the pandemic rolled in just like I think like the week before we were scheduled to fly. So we were trying to make sense of it because it just kind of hit America.
Yeah.
And it was just hard to kind of understand really or comprehend what exactly was going on.
Yeah.
At that moment in time anyway. So, I mean, in hindsight, it seems ridiculous that we were having like conversations for hours trying to work out whether it was safe or not to go. Like we just did.
Everyone was the same. Everyone
was
the
same. Yeah. But it was wild how quickly it kind of, so we made the decision that we wouldn't go. And then by the end of the week, we went to have a show in Brooklyn on the Friday. And on the Friday, like just New York just completely shut down. And so the show wouldn't have been on anyway. We'd have just been in New York, in the middle of a pandemic. So yeah, it was a strange situation. But
so what happens with things like visas then? They just run out and you got to apply again?
Yeah, they just run out. Yeah, you don't get a refund. Just
Out of interest, and I'm very curious because I'll be honest. One of my ambitions is to play in America. Even just one date to no one would be just fine for me. So visas, like the cost. What's the story there?
They cost hundreds of pounds each. You got to go for an interview at the embassy, which is, I found it quite stressful because you get what's called, or at least we have, or we had like what's called a sponsor in America, who basically kind of validates why you're going over there in terms of your application. Okay. And you kind of, when you go to the interview, you're sort of meant to know. They said they sponsored, they're kind of like solicitors, I suppose. They say, well, the interview can be this, or this. They can ask you this, and this. So just know it all. I'm kind of one of those people where, like, I go on tour and I don't know where I'm particularly going the next day, and I just kind of, I'll get in the van and go, where are we going today? And we'll just go. And not that I'm not excited, but I'm just a bit like that. I don't know what our fees are. I don't know, how long it takes to get anywhere. I just kind of get in the van and just exist and then do the shows. So in terms of like the American thing, it was like, oh no, I've got to memorize the fees for each night. I've got to memorize the venue. I've got to try and remember like the address of the venue or addresses of our accommodation, like, you know, just everything. I just needed to know everything in the event that they would ask these questions. But the only question I was asked was, the lady looked at the computer screen, looked at me and went, "Is that really the name of your band?" And I was, yeah. And she laughed, and then she did it, and then she gave me my things back, and that was it. Yeah, it was a little bit more complicated with Chris because he's got a slight blemish on his on his record. Nothing serious at all. But we had to jump through more hoops to get his visa sorted, and the extra hoops cost extra money. I mean, yeah, it just we didn't get that money back. But it's fine. Like, yeah. So it's okay.
It's brutal, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
like this. I know, you know, some bands will sneak over, but for me, I quite like yourself. I quite like the idea of shouting it loud that it's happening.
Yeah, totally. Well, we were going over to play. We were going to do 2 gigs. We were going to do one in Brooklyn, we were going to fly over to LA, do one in LA, and then we were going to play South by Southwest in Texas. But I think like the border control people in America, or passport control people, are very, very aware that there are musicians from all over the world like flying to play South by Southwest. So I think if they get any sense, you know, that like I've heard things, you know, people being grilled and then like, you know, they've just Googled that person's name and gone, so you're definitely not in this band.
Yeah.
And, you know, that sort of thing. And, or they've found like a couple of records in a suitcase, but because they're the same records, they've gone, what are you up to?
Yeah, exactly. Here's your merch. Yeah, quite.
Yeah, exactly. So
I was kind of under the impression you didn't need a visa to play South by Southwest if that's all you were going to do. Or am I making
I think you might be right, because they don't really pay much money. So yeah, I think that might be true. That might be true.
Okay. Well, we've been offered that a few times and never ever done it.
I've been in different bands who've been offered it, and we just couldn't do it because it would cost too much.
Yeah.
And actually, the last time we looked at it in a different band, you've got to also like look into like, they don't provide any backline or anything, so you then like hiring backline, so that's a cost, and then obviously your flights and just everything on top. You kind of just got to see it as a wacky holiday, I suppose, which could have a certain element of stress involved as well when you get there and the backline isn't available and whatever else, you know.
Like, why I don't like the idea of flying all the way to Austin.
No.
Like, no one to lose. Essentially, what, there's 6 of us, so you're going to end up losing about $6,000, $6,000 to play to no one. Like,
yeah,
you know. So earlier I said I'm up for going to America to play to no one. I obviously lied. Backtrack entirely. But yeah, ambitions are funny, like, because you're right. As you get to a point, you want this, and as you get to that point, you want this. Like, I sort of always say, like Coldplay or U2, I bet you any money there's someone working on them playing on the moon or something. You know, like
yeah.
You know, the next stage for them, because they can't do anything. They can't, like, how big can you?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. Like, I kind of see Pigs in the progression, or the journey we've been on. I kind of feel like we are a lower league football team that have gone on a really good FA Cup run, and you know, we're maybe in like somehow in the quarterfinals, and we're like, oh wow, we're out of our depth here, but we'll give it a go and just go out and enjoy it, lads. Just go out and enjoy the match. So yeah, we're a bit like that, I suppose.
A bit like the quarterfinal of the League Cup this year from Newcastle.
I mean, I think I called that on Twitter. I said you'd win. Like Newcastle were woeful around that period, like really, really bad. Like I've not seen them play football that bad in a long time. So yeah, I was very confident that you were going to.
We got showed up against Tottenham in the semis anyway. That dream didn't last long. So hit me with a record bought on tour.
Record bought on tour. I'm gonna combine this with turning a light on as well. Oh. It's not for dramatic effect. I just can't really see anymore. Record bought on tour. Yeah. So got this Hendrix Band of Gypsies live album. And I bought this it's so beat up. Like, it plays fine. It plays really, really great. But it was like, yeah, the price reflects it. It was £6, and it was from a place in Nottingham, and I cannot remember what it was called, but it was like, I've not been in a record shop like that. It was like a hoarder's house.
I think I know exactly the shop you mean.
Do you? And there's just like, I mean, it makes me wince, but like, when records are like stacked flat like that. There's columns.
There's 3 episodes where this shop has been mentioned.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. So we weren't looking for it, and like, I didn't know. We just like walked past it. We're like, I was with Johnny. I was like, look at this. But we went in, and it smells a bit damp as well, which isn't really, an environment to be keeping records in good condition. But and yeah, they're just starting. You kind of got to burrow in, but there was some amazing stuff in there, and like, yeah, really reasonable prices. So I picked this one up because I love this album, and Machine Gun on this was pretty much the kind of early blueprint for Blown Out. Like, it was just like we listened to this song and thought, like,
you went like, there's the 2 episodes before yours, Aaron Turner one from Hydra Head and Sumac and ISIS and all that. Talks about exactly that song.
Really? Yeah. It's amazing. It's so good. So yeah, picked that up for £6, and I also picked this up, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Between Nothingness and Eternity. And this is an album Johnny's dad introduced me and him to this. Like, Johnny used to listen to it a lot around, I don't know, when we were about 18 or something like that. Just kind of blew our minds. So yeah, found that good. And I picked this one up, but it's not, I don't even know why I picked it up. Well, I do, because like Inagada Davida is an amazing song, but I mean, really, the rest of the album's a bit flat, innit? I don't know. Like, I don't know what your opinion on it is, but it's just a bit.
I'm not here to have an opinion.
It's all about side 2. Just one 17-minute long rock song. Amazing. Why do anything else? They should have done what Trencher had done, and just on side 8, just nothing. I bought this for €2, which felt like a bargain, in a town in the Netherlands called Deventer. And we played a show there, and then the next night we played at a festival called Sonic Whip. But when I look at this album, we had a nightmare on that tour with I don't know if you've experienced I don't know when it came in, but the decibel limit in, what a buzzkill that is. But the thing is about that tour, like, no, we were having, I mean, you have them in this country as well, those arguments with or those standoffs with sound people, and they're like, "No, turn your amps down," and we're like, "Yeah," and someone will just kind of do that instead of like actually doing that, just to kind of glance the hand over. Yeah, it's gone down. It's gone down. And so that happens over here, but over there, we didn't realize that there was an actual like government enforced restriction on the decibel meter readings. So we were having these battles every night, and not one person thought to tell us, no, you have to, because it's the law and we will get fined and shut down. But nobody said it. So we're just like digging our heels in, like, no, this is the way it has to be. And they're like, no, you cannot do this. Like, no, we can. We do it all the time. It was very strange. So that album kind of reminds me of that situation.
If anyone doesn't know about playing in a band battling with a decibel meter, hitting a cymbal will set it off.
Yeah. So I think in the Netherlands it is 103 decibels. Now, my voice at full pelt is probably louder than 103 decibels. But the way they do it is that it basically the meter reading, the meter takes an average over the course of the set. So if you have some quiet moments in the set, then you're okay. But if you're a band like, well, Hey Colossus or Pigs, you're pretty much full tilt, like quite a lot. So you can't do it. So everything has to go right down because you need to stay at that level.
So Mogwai are okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're okay, lads. Record that people wouldn't think that you would be into.
Again, I struggled with this one as well because I generally think that most of the records I've got are fairly predictable. I mean, I've got kind of some out there stuff, but it's all music, isn't it? And yeah, people like music. I don't have it on record, but I really like the new Miley Cyrus album.
Okay.
That might be surprising. I don't know. Again, it's just music though, isn't it? I picked this one, but I don't think it's all that shocking because it's an incredible album. It's absolute classic. It's Scott 4. This is quite possibly, if push came to shove and I had to, what is your definitive, your favorite album? It'd probably be this. It's one of those albums that I can put on and enjoy no matter what mood I'm in. So if I'm feeling quite flat or quite down, it hits the spot. If I'm feeling, I don't know, quite energetic, feeling fine, hits the spot. Just every time, it's absolutely wonderful. And I think like albums like that are kind of few or far between, really. So yeah.
He's an iconic character, even right to the very end, who's releasing some pretty out there music.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Where he came from with the Walker Brothers.
Yeah.
Like, what other like 60s pop icons took his route?
Yeah. It's phenomenal. And so that album's just great. So I suppose the only surprise, it's quite croonery, I suppose, isn't it? But it's incredible.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's a going out song, going out album, and coming in album.
Yeah. Great.
So the last one I have here is regarding the 10-inch record and your thoughts on and favorite one.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't have many 10-inch records, which maybe, that's my opinion on them. I don't actually see many 10-inch releases though, generally. I don't know. I don't really come across them all that much. I did put out a 10-inch though on Box Records, a band from Newcastle called Beauty Pageant. They did exist. They no longer exist, but yeah, I put out a 10-inch to them. It's really good. But I picked this. Sorry?
How did it sell as a format? Like
slow but I don't know whether that was because of the format or because the band kind of did like one or two shows after it came out and then just disbanded and went to different universities across the country, and that was kind of the end of the band. So I feel like that probably had more to do with it than the than the football. I hope so anyway. Yeah, I picked this, which is Divorce, the Glasgow band, who I'm sure you'll know very well.
Yeah.
Um,
I spoke with Michael Kasparis, who
right.
runs Night School Records,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
and he put out the Divorce album.
Yes.
And he said a very similar story to your 10-inch one there, where he said he released it and then they split up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The that was the one where I forget what the title is, but I'm pretty sure the like the front cover, like the sleeve was spray painted. So like when I got it, it absolutely stunk of spray paint. But it was brilliant.
Like green. It's like a green, isn't it? Like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, like green and maybe purple or something. But yeah, so I picked this out. But this was like, well, obviously predated that album because they split up after the album. They also has a different vocalist, which is Sinead, who, as you'll know, now does vocals in Lower Slaughter.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, she's another person similar to you, and whereby I kind of came across their band but didn't know them, and then she left the band quite shortly after I saw them live, I think, and then just kind of reconnected with years and years later when she joined Lower Slaughter, and Barney got in touch like, oh, we've got great vocalists now. She's called Sinead. She used to be in a band called Divorce. So I was like, oh, okay. So it's it's good.
There's only 10 people making music in this on this island.
Yeah, pretty much.
So have you got any other records you want to talk about or show or mention?
The only other one I don't think I've held up, well, you held it up earlier, was the Nod one.
Yeah.
The Nod one, because I kind of put that in the category of records with memories along with the Trencher one. I only got this like a couple of days ago, and I had it on last night, and it brought a lot of memories flooding back just from the time I was like in this band and getting to know these people. And I didn't know, like I've obviously seen for like weeks like the promo and things for this album.
Yeah.
But I'm on it. Like I'm I'm on a couple of tracks.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I'm on. I'm not credited on being on the first track, Elka, but I know that I am.
Right.
That was one of the dropout ones, and that was the night we got there, and we just kind of set up on like I don't know whatever night it was, Friday night. We set everything up, and then we were just kind of like drinking and smoking and stuff, and just playing. And then just Tim recorded, I don't know, maybe an hour or so of it. So that's part of that I don't know, that ad-libbed thing. But we weren't playing. We didn't know we were being recorded. We just did it.
That's how half of our albums have come up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And then I'm on the second one as well, which is a live recording.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a rehearsal room recording. But I'm credited on the second track as Mary Ploppins.
Why is that?
I had a MySpace profile at the time, just with some like I don't know, like noise stuff on it, and the name was Mary Ploppins. So actually, on that White Hills Nod album Dropout, on the back of that, I'm credited as Mary Ploppins, and on here I'm credited as Mary Ploppins. So yeah, that's funny.
It's good for tax reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then I'm on a couple other one other one. There's like a live recording of a song we did at Saki Bar, which there is a picture of in there, but I'm not in the picture. But Paddy's in his pants, and Chris obviously plays drums now in Pigs. He was in Nod for a very long time. So yeah, it was good time.
Yeah, well, they're a great band. So
Yeah, and I kind of got to know them when I moved to Manchester, and didn't really know many people in Manchester at all, or so I was kind of, I don't know, it was just like going to gigs on my own, like that sort of thing, and like that was fine. But I went from Newcastle, where I had kind of quite a big, like, social network and knew a lot of people, knew different bands and things. And, I could go to a gig on my own in Newcastle and just there'd be someone there to talk to that I know, whereas in Manchester, it was just like a bit of a shock to the system. So I was feeling a bit, but yeah, got to know Nod, and they embraced me for a bit and played a bunch of shows. And yeah, it's really good fun.
nice touch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we spoke, I quickly messaged Chris Reader to find out if it was an inside scoop on you that I could ask you about that I didn't know beforehand or whatever. And
Yeah.
Chris mentioned this, and I don't know if it's true. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask a question and see if you know the answer. And if you know the answer, then it's true.
Okay.
What do you and Barney from Lower Slaughter and Damien from the band Fucked Up have in common?
Barney, Damien. I don't even know Damien from Fucked
No,
Up.
you wouldn't.
I mean, I know the band, but I don't.
You know his podcast or ever listen to his podcast, which I recommend anyone does. You'll know what he loves.
Oh, does he like a bit of professional wrestling?
He does.
Yes. I love it. If you see, like, just at the back there, there's like the wrestling ring with lots of little action figures. They're from my childhood. I can't get rid of them at all.
What is it? Because I don't get it.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And I don't think, I think if you weren't bitten as a child with it, then you just, it's going to be largely lost on you. Although if you do, for whatever reason, and it probably won't happen, have the opportunity to go and see some of it live, you might change your mind. It's, I mean, just athletically, it's astounding. Like some of it, just astounding. 6 foot plus guys just doing backflips of 10 foot high things. But yeah, I got the bug at a very young age, and I dipped out for a long time, but I'm back now. But yeah.
So is it the American, I'm of an age where I grew up where it was like kind of just chunky English guys just bouncing into each other.
Yeah, like the World of Sports stuff, and exactly.
Like Haystacks and Big Daddy and whatnot.
Yeah, and that's just like it's I mean, that's obviously like it's a really different style. It's it's quite slow paced, and what I quite liked about a lot of the World of Sports stuff, I mean, it was the commentary is kind of delivered in the same sort of hushed tone as the snooker. Like it's very, very similar. There's like 2 7-foot guys like supposedly going at it, but that's Big Daddy there. Put him in a headlock. How's he gonna get out? Which, like, compared to the American way of doing things, is very, very different.
Quite the same razzmatazz.
yeah. It's very, It was very typically British affair, but
Anyhow, I just thought I'd ask because it was, I'm not sure I knew that, and I know that Barney trained to be a ref, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I was really excited for him when he told me that. I don't know. I don't think it did it get very far. I don't think he did much with it with that qualification, which is a shame. Chris from Pigs likes it as well, and he I don't know, some years ago, this must be way before I ever knew him, but had a certain amount of training, professional wrestling training. but I've never seen him do anything kind of outstanding. I think that time has passed now. I think
Right.
he's yeah.
You
Yeah.
could like like they used to have like 5-a-side matches like between between bands, like like Oasis would go up against Reef or whatever and play 5-a-side for NME. You could like
Yeah.
go up against Lower Slaughter or Bucked Up in a wrestling tag team.
I'm not built for it. I would have to be given my height, I would have to be like a high flyer. But so that would mean, just like jumping off the top rope a lot and being really quick. But I'm pretty terrified of heights. So it's not for me. It's not for me. Yeah.
Stick with the music. Stick with the
Yeah.
music.
Yeah, that's it. Much safer.
As an aside, Dan from Sex Swing and before that Death Escalator does chess boxing.
Oh wow. Okay. I mean that's pretty heavy duty, isn't it?
Yeah.
It must be. That is. Have you seen him do it?
No, I think I've seen footage like online. I've never been because I'm based. I don't live in London or anything, so I watch it, and sometimes it's like, oh, Dan's doing chess. It's like it's fighting and then chessing for like a bit.
That does sound like something that can only exist in London. Like, I've not seen any posters for it up here.
No, I imagine it's next to the those shops that just sell breakfast cereal.
Yeah.
So I think we should probably call it a evening.
Okay.
But thanks a lot for doing.
No, thank you. It's been highly enjoyable.
Yeah. Thanks for agreeing to do it and picking some records and whatnot. And let's hope we can go back to playing live.
That'd be nice.
And let's hope you can get back to America and pay another shitload of cash for another load of visas.
Yes, and train to become a professional wrestler when I'm over there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the place.
Never come back.
So what we're going to do is we're going to wave goodbye.
Okay.
And then I'll stop it, and we can carry on talking for a brief second afterwards, just to say goodbye properly. So wave goodbye. Thank you very much.
Bye.